I think there might be possibly a time confusion. I don't know, but I sent him the link, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, everything will work out. If not, we'll reschedule. Uh, and I will talk to you guys for an hour or so, or less. Not 100% yet, as far as feeling better from being sick. I know our friend Squirrel Sniper is under the weather as well. I was feeling better this afternoon, but after that last afternoon live stream, I started getting stuffed up a bit. So it's obvious that whatever was there, it's still there, just a little less. Glad you're hanging in there. We're going to reschedule with the Esoteric Lounge, guys. It will not be tomorrow night. I do. What's tomorrow? 10th. I keep thinking I have someone in the afternoon, but I don't think I do. Thursday, I do. Thursday, book solid. Afternoon with Julie. And then in the evening, we have Jim Anderson, also known as James K. Anderson. That's what he writes under. Let me bring up his book. Hey, Lady Sky. Another busy lineup. Yep, and it's starting to shape up for next week. I want to invite the Rational Man up, if he can make it before Christmas, to give a Christmas sermon. So this is the author is going to be up Thursday. James K. Anderson, Living a Radical Life, Astonishing Ideas Hidden in Plain Sight in A Course in Miracles. Whether you are a student of A Course in Miracles or not, in this book, you will discover ideas that you have never read before from any source. These are incredible concepts hidden in plain sight in the pages of A Course that the author has not seen or heard discussed by any other Course teacher or book. They range from incredible new insights to common questions often asked by many Course students. A Course in Miracles is an amazing book, but very few understand much of what it truly says. The more you read the Course, the more you will discover. Each time you read it, you have to become a different person, and each time through it, you will see new ideas and understand more and more concepts that you never knew were in the book before. It is leading you step by step on the journey to awakening. The only purpose in life is to wake up from the dream. Until you truly understand that and change your entire attitude about life, the Holy Spirit is just quietly trying to get your attention. Maybe this book is an opportunity. Maybe James talking to us is an opportunity. So that's going to be interesting. I like how he says that the entire purpose of life on earth is to wake up from this dream. The way we do that is through the practice of what we could call radical forgiveness. It's radical because it's a way we have not been taught before. Hey, She Roast, how are you, my friend? 1-star rating says, Jesus and Stephen told the patriarchs that not only does God reside in their temples, but he doesn't reside in the text either. The world is living, breathing, and active. I would agree. Cat says, Yogi, 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 yo, what's up? What up, girl? How is that for sound and hit? Hebrews 4:12. Thanks, 1-star. Hey, Big Al. I'm not here tonight. I'm trying to sleep. Leaving a like. Good night, everyone. Good night, Big Al. Appreciate you popping in. Sniper says the experience to 1-star. Says hi to Big Al. What's up, Skits? Skits came right in when I was saying, what up, girl? Skits knows when I'm being hip. Chivo says, so did Skits. Hey, Ahmed. Ahmed, how are you? Skits, you did just arrive and heard me say that. I will never say it again, though. It's a one and done deal. You heard me say it. Now it's over. Ahmed says, "Hey Yogi, I'm good. I'm glad you're good." Fred, I hope you're doing well, my friend. Good says hi to everyone. So I don't know if our guest is going to be able to make it or not. It appears that the guest screen actually disappeared. I've never seen that happen like that before. Hey Selma, Joshua drops a link for his live. What's going on, Joshua? So you sure you want to? I see the live stream heading. You sure you want to deactivate your account? You could just concentrate on contents and maybe step away from live streaming. I don't want to ever tell anyone what to do, but you worked really hard on your channel. Fred says, if you're new to the channel, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. It says, I'm going to make a love rap and you're going to be the ad lib what up girl. If I knew that was going to happen, I would have put a little more oomph into the what up. I would have stretched out the girl. Ahmed says, your shirt makes you look more handsome. I'm glad something does. Obviously, the beard isn't doing the job, nor is the glasses, nor is the bald head. Skid says, why did Joshua? Hi, Star Seeker. Hey, Selma. Yeah, Selma, nothing wrong with being friends for a while. Thank you, Cora. We get some jewels from our friend Cora. Much, much appreciated. I'm okay, Lady Sky. I'm back to being a little stuffed up. I feel bad that, Cora, again, thank you so much. I feel bad that maybe our guest isn't able to make it. Good to sending good vibes, Joshua, brother, much love. Definitely much love. Judge says Abigail has not been on YouTube. Yep, lots of people have been asking about her. Someone has talked to Jackson at Cravella today. He says we have friends for now, but we're taking it slow. Okay, it's a good step, Selma. Always respect someone who wants to take it slow. Nothing good comes from rushing in a relationship. Most especially if only one person is doing the rushing, trying to rush the other. Duchess says, if you guys want to know why I'm leaving YouTube, just ask me my live stream after dinner. Got you, my friend. Latest guy says, Vanessa's that too, Joshua. I hope she's okay. Someone says, we're taking baby steps. That's the way to do it. So I have not heard back from Tom. Tom is our guest. Lady Sky, how are you feeling? Duchess says, yeah, I hope Abigail is okay. So we had a 2-hour conversation with Miss Flipper. It was pretty awesome. Very much appreciate her perspective. We diverge a bit in some of our views. Joshua says, my username will be different when I come back. Cannot use this name anymore if and when I come back. Hey, Carl. Carl, good evening. Hey, Joshua. My own my own experience has always been never to make what seems like a rash decision, even if it feels perfectly rational when I'm doing it, when I'm deeply, deeply sad, when I'm grieving, when I'm angry, when I'm upset, whatever these deep, deep emotions that I might be going through, any big, big decision, especially for something that I've worked so hard to achieve, uh, it's always best to pause. I don't want to make a decision based upon emotion. I want to make a decision based upon guidance, whatever hidden inner guidance is available. Ladies, guys, about 80% better, Yogi. Still got the nasty coughing mess. Star Seeker says to Carl, thank you for liking my post. Yeah, that could happen later. Soma, always be, it's okay to take things slow and still, still be hopeful. It says, okay, so I just went to a live stream where a really pretty girl was streaming. So pull the what up girl. She ignored me. I think you gotta. It has to be said. I think if you made a clip, I think if you made a clip of you saying that and then posted it for people to visit, you notice after I said it, Kat's been speechless. She has not been able to respond. Her, she's probably too overcome with emotion to be able to yet speak in a coherent sentence, at least, right? It says, if the guests don't come up, can people come for like 5 minutes to talk, Yogi? I think so. Let's give it about, I don't know, 15-ish minutes, 20-ish minutes. Hey, Sab. Sab said hi. Appreciate you being here. Jackson is getting Dairy Queen. Been a while since I've been to Dairy Queen. Kat is laughing. She's so overcome with the what up girl that her only response. Hey, Duncan. Hello, my friend. Hey, Lady Sky. You can ask anything you ever want whenever you want. You are a friend. Uh, yeah, there's never, ever, ever, ever a reason not to ask whatever you want. Kat says, sweet Soma, I love you. It's nice having Soma back, isn't it? Soma says, I love you, Kat. Lady Sky says, hi to Duncan. Tina is looking for Lee Lu. Lee was in earlier today. Kat says, hi, she cooks. Duncan says, hey to Lady. Duncan, how are you? Good says, Lady Sky, ask him about mushy peas. Cora says, hi, Yogi. Cora, how are you? Lady Sky says, hi to Cat and Jack. Soma says, hi to Skitsy. Hey, Skits, if people do come up for 5 minutes in a little bit, I think you should come up and you should look in the camera and you should give us your best What up? What up, girl? And watch what happens. Watch the reaction that you get. No, what's going on with busy dad, Duncan? Carl says, there's this thing as mushy peas in Ireland. Man, it sounds like I need to move to Ireland then, Carl. I'm glad you're smiling, Selma. So, yeah, Duncan, what's going on? I hope Max is okay. Hey, Tom. Tom, I apologize for, I don't know why, but it appears that our guest is unable to make it. This guy says, what is mushy peas? It's exactly like it sounds like. You take peas, you mush them up. I think some people add stuff in. Wow. All his videos are gone. His website is down and no Instagram. That's big news. Speaking of people who have worked hard for their place, Busy Dad certainly has. His website's down too. Hey, do you have any way of reaching him? I'll have to ask Sam Thrussell if he has his email. Joshua says, my decision about this is based on my thinking. It's like a chess game with her. She watches me on YouTube, but what happens when she cannot watch me? But what if you just did what you did, Joshua? Uh, Regardless of who watches and who doesn't. What if you took the player out of the game and it was no longer a game? It was your channel and you were doing what you loved. And it didn't matter if someone was watching, if someone was not watching. Here's the thing, Joshua. You are a beloved fixture on YouTube. So many people care for you, and so many people get so much from your channel. It's you put so much into your videos, and everyone responds to them. We love you. We love what you do. So as long as you think you're playing in a game, uh, then it takes two people, right? But what if one player steps away, no longer interested in a game or one upsmanship? Guys, our friend Tom is here. So we do have our guest. Hi, Tom.
Hello.
I
How
wasn't
are you
sure if we.
doing?
Good. How are you? Welcome back.
I'm fine. I had a problem because I don't know how to get into my email on the phone.
Ah,
So
got you.
I saw the link, but eventually I was able to get in. So, okay. All right. So I guess we're on. I,
We are on. Uh,
so,
Let me give you a brief introduction. Not that you need one at this point, but this is our friend Tom Wakechild, and the subject is happiness, consciousness, you, and fear. Tom has he's been away for a bit, and I guess it's been what 2 weeks since we've last talked.
yes. No, actually, yeah, 2 weeks, I think. The it might be three. But anyways, it's been a while. Uh,
So, happiness, consciousness, you, and fear. How does this all tie together, Tom?
well, I think that it's important to realize that when we talk about what we are, we're not necessarily the body. Uh, and so what we have to do is to look at what the components are that make up consciousness, because we're not really a human body, we're a human being. Whenever I was 21, I witnessed my first autopsy, and uh, I was there in the room, and the pathologist, who was actually Dr. Black, that was his real name, he took a power saw and he started cutting open the chest cavities so you get to the internal organs. And I got very queasy because this was the first time I had witnessed an autopsy, and it was kind of gruesome to see someone, standing above it with a power saw. But before I, passed out, I'm going to say, I told myself that what I was looking at was not a human being, but a human body. And with that thought, that reframing, realizing that what he was cutting into, the existence of the person had left the body, I was able to regain my liberty, and I was able to stay in and watch the ending of the autopsy. But that told me that we're not really the body, and that's the important thing. Whenever we speak of, and the name of this, I think we said, was happiness, consciousness, you, and fear. We have to realize what consciousness is, and consciousness is how we really filter the experiences through our mind. So consciousness really is a structure of beliefs through which one projects and processes reality. And when we think about that, there's actually three components to consciousness, or what makes it up. There's assumptions, there's beliefs that you refuse to question, and decisions that you make. Now, all three of those are something that are mind controls, or I'm going to say mind. I'm not speaking of the physical organ we call the brain. I'm talking about what metaphysics might call it spirit, some might call it soul, but it's an existence that is continues with or without a body. And so when we realize that there's these three components, and I said that it's assumptions, beliefs you refuse to question, and decisions that you make. One of the things that's not mentioned is your past. And that's because your past really doesn't exist from the standpoint of it having any impact unless you bring it into your awareness. You only bring your uh, past into your present awareness, so you can only access it in present time. So if we look at those things, of the three, what do you think might be the most important? Assumptions, beliefs you refuse to question, or decisions that you make? What would you think there?
Decisions.
Okay, well, they're all obviously important, and decisions are really, whenever you say decisions, it's the choices that you make. But whenever I look at it, I think it really starts with assumptions. And the reason I pick assumptions is because assumptions, unlike even beliefs, don't require any proof. Assumptions are something I just decide that I want to test out and see how it works. In uh, geometry, they make certain assumptions. One assumption in geometry that you make, and I think it's Euclid geometry, is the idea that parallel lines never meet. When you change that assumption, you get a whole new set of geometry, and it's useful. So that's something that common sense would tell us that parallel lines never meet. That's the definition of parallel. But whenever you change that assumption, you get a whole different set of conclusions, and they found out that they're very valuable. Okay, so assumptions, as they don't require any proof, we just can make and test out. So, like, if you want to say that you're the body, and I want to say that I'm unlimited spirit, we can't prove either one of those two. I mean, you can look and see your body, but you can't prove that that's what you really are. You can't prove that if your body ceases to operate, you cease to be. They're something that we pick out of the air. It would be nice if they're supported by some type of evidence, but we don't need evidence. Like whenever they said parallel lines don't meet, well, all the evidence and the definition of parallel meant that they have to not meet. But they changed that assumption and they got a whole different set of beliefs. If you look at your beliefs, those beliefs are normally, and beliefs are typically based on some type of evidence, but assumptions are. So, and assumptions typically can't really be proved. They could be, assumptions like saying that I'm consciousness or I'm a soul. You can't prove that to somebody else, but you can believe that. And when you believe that, that assumption becomes your framework from which you operate, and it becomes part of your consciousness. So the Course in Miracles, for example, they have what they call the laws of chaos, which basically say, I am the body and the body is me, and that we're all separate. And this idea of belief in lack, limitation, and separation plays in, and that God is someone that has accepted the idea that we're all sinners. Okay. Those are assumptions. They can't be necessarily proven. We can't ask God, does he really see me as a sinner? Okay, those are beliefs. You can say, well, I've sinned, so why would someone love me? But the Course in Miracles really says that knowledge says that all those assumptions that the laws of chaos say that we operate on in this time space continuum are wrong. That the opposite is true, that you're spirit, that you're God's beloved child, that we're connected. So when you look at what knowledge, and Course in Miracles is very specific as to what knowledge is, the 6 points of knowledge. And if we go with that as your assumption of what you are, then your whole state of consciousness flips, because what you're doing is you're moving from assumptions that place you in the field of fear into assumptions that put you in the field of love, happiness, and oneness. So assumptions, even though they're not proven, if I say that I'm going to follow those assumptions to its logical conclusion, I get a whole different thought system. And that means I get a whole different state of consciousness. And rather than being trapped, and let's face it, if you believe that you're a sinner and that God has accepted that, that automatically means that either one of two things. Either you've got to somehow earn your redemption, or you've got to hide from this God, okay? Because if you don't, he's going to catch you and sometime he's going to punish you. So you're trapped in fear. So what we want to do whenever we come to consciousness, we say there's three components: beliefs, and I said whenever I said beliefs, it's actually beliefs that you refuse to question. So if you have beliefs, you can question them, and that can change your conscience. But if you refuse to question them, you're trapped in that belief system. Okay, so the belief system actually, just like that parallel line example, creates certain conclusions. So whenever you have these assumptions and they're erroneous or they're fear based, you're trapped in fear. So what we are suggesting is that you want to move into this idea that I'm going to create assumptions that will allow me to change my state of consciousness so that I have the option to now say that love and forgiveness is my world. And psychologists tell us actually that what we believe, which now we've incorporated those assumptions, based on those assumptions, we get certain beliefs, that we'll find out that the way our mind works is that we will search the universe to find things that support those beliefs. So whenever you change your assumptions, and the problem with A Course in Miracles, it's not a problem, but it's just what most people have a problem with is the idea that the Course says, come with empty hands, but no one wants to. They want to drag their old thought system, their own beliefs in lack, limitation, and separation, and then try to resolve or become happy through that. And that's a dead end. So what we have to do is we have to go back to the assumptions and start questioning those. And when we do, we have a totally new way that we can view our world. So that's why I say that really uh, the most important thing is the assumptions because they don't require evidence. It's something that I decide to choose because I want to believe it, because I want to experiment with that idea. Just like that person who ever came up with uh, the parallel lines, that's a false assumption. Uh, he came up with a whole new set of geometry that has a lot of practical implications in our present world. So
Hey,
go ahead.
Tom, do you think you could clear up if anyone had a question between consciousness and mind?
Uh, well, consciousness, like I say, is really uh, consciousness is a structure of beliefs through which one projects and processes reality. But there's two aspects of consciousness. One is this idea of it's a process, but also to be conscious is what we're really talking about, is a process of focusing attention. Okay, focusing attention, directing and projecting creative energy within an endless array of possible creation cycles. So, what we really have with consciousness is that consciousness is kind of a noun, okay, and it's also a active verb, it's a process. So, whenever we look at that, we're saying uh, consciousness is this how we're going to process things. Now, consciousness as such has two aspects. When you're conscious, you're an observer and you're also an active participant. Okay. So, consciousness, if we're going to look at this in time and space, we have this idea of duality, the idea that there's me and something outside of me. And that creates this idea of an observer and maybe a participant. There's got to be something out there to observe. So, uh, whenever you say mind, uh, mind is tricky. Like I say, all words are tricky, and this is why it's important that we understand what someone means when they use a term. That's why, I like to use stipulated definition. Individuated consciousness, which is what you are, is consciousness that has identified itself as separate and autonomous entity apart from the whole to oneself and source. Individuated consciousness acts as an observer by choosing what events out of an infinite array of possibilities it will place into its awareness. It acts as a participant by directing and allocating its creative energy towards a given project. As such, individual consciousness is both a participatory and observational role in the creation of your experiences. But you notice there it said that in that you, as a participant, you're directing creative energy, and that's very important to realize what we are. We're a power source that gets to direct creative energy. God, we is creative energy, but God, uh, at least whenever God creates, He extends all to all because there's no separation. So that means that you and I have creative power. Everything's energy out there, and our mind, I use the word mind or consciousness, decides how it's going to focus or place its attention on. So placing your attention and where attention goes, energy flows. So it's important that we be aware of how we're using our mind to focus attention. So I don't know if that answered it because I didn't really say what mind is
Right.
because mind, I don't know if I've got a definition in this understanding A Course in Miracles because it's really a, uh, yeah, it's used loosely and it's a source of confusion because, like I say, it's not the brain. The brain is a physical organ. Uh, Mind is spirit, and therefore it's uh, a focus and has a lot of different qualities. But with or without a body, consciousness still exists. Death is consciousness coming into a body, not death. Consciousness, death is consciousness leaving a physical body, and birth is consciousness coming into the body. Life is consciousness, and with or without a body, consciousness still, is there. So um, I don't know if that clarified it, but consciousness is closely related to mind. Mind is often called spirit, often called soul, if you tend to be religious. It's an essence, but it has the ability to focus creative power, creative energy, which is how we can manifest anything and how we uh, through our focus, how we experience things, whether we're projecting or not. Uh, so,
Tom,
go ahead.
while we're talking definition, we
Mhm.
had a question about fear, since it's one of the topics that's in
Oh,
the
okay.
title.
Yeah.
They wanted to know, is fear the cause of mass formation psychosis?
Okay. I'm going to give you a definition of fear because what we'll be seeing is it has uh, something to do with uh, fear is a state of agitation that arises whenever you believe you lack the creative power to handle a given situation. Fear actually arises whenever you get either of these two questions wrong. The first is, what am I? The second is, what do I value and why? The first one, what am I, uh, has to do with what we were talking about before, assumptions, because you can't really prove, I'm going to say, what you are, especially to someone else. Okay, you could say, I know what I am, But are you right? If I say I'm a body and my body ceases to function and I'm now laying flat with a lily in my hand, uh, did I cease to exist? You can't prove that. I can give you a lot of evidence, maybe, that says if you look at near death experiences or some of these other things or life between life regressions, you'll see that there's some evidence, scientific evidence, that would support the idea that with or without our body, consciousness still exists. But that relies on uh, evidence that someone has said, and science can't quote unquote prove it because it's not really measurable. So it's part of the area that's not uh, scientific because scientific requires the ability to measure something, which requires physicality in some way, shape, or form. So whenever we look at uh, the idea of they're trying to come up with a theory of everything. Okay. Well, the theory of everything, because scientific, has to be based on what they can measure, and what they can measure is only what they say is about 5% of what's out there, because dark energy and uh, uh, dark energy and the other one is dark something. Let's see,
Dark matter.
dark matter. Dark matter, yeah, dark matter present come up with the other 95%. And if we look at what my own personal senses can pick up, that's 0.01% of everything out there. And yet we walk around with this idea that we, our physical senses are uh, legitimate things to base everything on. So that's why I say assumptions are very important. If I say that I am the body and the body is me, I then, after you look at any thought system, it always starts with those assumptions. Okay. And those assumptions trap you into a fear-based thought system. So you have to go, and one of the things that Course in Miracles talks about is this idea of that we forgot knowledge, which is really the idea that we forgot what we are. So anytime fear arises, anytime you believe that you lack the creative power to handle a situation. If I believe there's a lion next door, but I don't, am aware of it, I don't have any existence, I won't move into fear. Even if I walk into that room, whenever I walk in the room and I see a lion, I'm going to be in fear. But uh, fear is always based on the belief that we lack creative ability. If we don't think there's nothing to fear in that room, we won't move into fear. Okay, so it's always a question of uh, what our beliefs are that drive us into fear. If we say that uh, we are the body, you're going to have to be trapped in fear. If you say, I'm not the body, but I'm consciousness, that doesn't get you home totally either, because you've got to look and say, beyond that, am I going to die? And am I going to be judged? If I am going to be judged, you've got all kinds of words. So, in order for you to really have any choice or chance of living without fear, you have to adopt the assumption, because it's not necessarily provable, that you are, you will exist, that you are mind or spirit, and that God is the God of love. Because if you believe that God is a judgmental God, you're always going to be in fear as to wondering even when I die, what's going to happen? Okay. So we've got to change the assumptions and say, what would happen if I assumed that I can't prove it, but I assume this, that I am unlimited spirit and that God is a God of only love. Now I've got the field that would allow me to explore those possibilities. And because whether we believe it or not, uh, our thoughts become things or tend to manifest, just those beliefs will start creating experiences that will start supporting the idea that, yes, it's true that I am not the body, that I am unlimited spirit. Yes, I can start finding evidence that even supports the idea that God is a God of only love. And because I've now opened myself up to the possibility that that's available, that's what I'll start to experience. That's why the Course in Miracles says, don't try and change this world. Change your beliefs about it. And when you change your beliefs, your world will automatically shift over to that new, to align with those new set of beliefs. So don't change the world, change how you view your world, and automatically
We could say
change.
that changing our belief about the world might be considered one of the greatest acts of compassion that we can do. Because as long as we are rearranging, or would you say that? Because if we are always trying to change behaviors, if we're always trying to fix the world, uh,
Um,
we can see from thousands of years of history, it's not been very successful. But we haven't had a concerted effort, and uh, at least with a collective uh, mass, with that 100th monkey, um, of changing our thoughts about the world. It's been offered to us, but most people don't step up and say, "Can I really, by changing my mind about the world, can I really have an effect on the world itself?"
um, I don't know if we want to go into this or not,
Okay.
but there was experiment done, and it's with transcendental meditation. Perhaps you're aware of it, but and what we're going to be talking about, and in ending fear, I talk about the collective consciousness and the 100 monkeys that I think you made reference to, that somehow we're all connected. But in this study that they did, and this was an experiment that the TM people participated, and they did it in multiple facilities, but multiple territories. But I'm going to do the one that they got the big scientific evidence. They The transcendental meditation people said that we can reduce crime in Washington D.C. Okay, and not only can we reduce it, we can tell you how much it'll be reduced and how many people we need to be able to reduce it. Okay, so they sent into Washington D.C. a number of their people, okay, who meditated, okay, and lo and behold, the crime statistics came down, okay, and when they measured, and I wish I could maybe give you some of these. It's in this book someplace, but it's very interesting with the TM study. Uh, but what they did is after the study was going on for a number of months, they checked the records, and sure enough, and this was they measured it by violent crime, which was uh, how much deaths, homicides, robberies uh, were involved, because that was the statistic that they could keep, and it reduced it. And let me just find some of the things that it did, because it was really interesting. And so give me a moment. You might want to continue, and I'll see if I can find that.
Okay. A friend Evan had asked the topic now. Do you have a lot of guests? I do have a lot of guests, Evan. The topic is happiness, consciousness, you, and fear. And we are, it brought us around to a talk of compassion. Tom had mentioned just a moment ago uh, how the course is not about changing behavior. It's not about changing the effects of the world, but changing the cause. And the cause is always on our thoughts about the world. So we always go to the cause and we don't deal with effects, because the effects have been the same for thousands of years. This is the same message that Jesus said. And in the 2000 plus years since the crucifixion, the world has changed as far as technology is concerned, but it has not changed in the effects. There are still people starving. There are still people uh, sick, dying, homeless, at war, neighbor against neighbor. There's been no concerted effort collectively. And Tom is bringing up some information about the 100th monkey, also called the Maharishi effect in transcendental meditation, uh, and the reduction of crime just through the practice of meditation. Now, Course in Miracles, the main practice in A Course in Miracles is forgiveness. Forgiveness, in my opinion, as a meditation instructor, certified instructor through the Chopra Foundation, that forgiveness is an instant meditation. You are literally looking and seeing the face of Christ within another, which again is a great act of compassion. As we do that, we are literally changing how we view others. And the world begins to change because we have gone to cause and we're not dealing with effect. We're looking past, we don't forgive effects. We look and we recognize the cause, and everything changes. I'm making conversation until our friend Tom has gathered his information.
I'm trying to find it in this, and I don't, but me a second, okay, because this one I think mentions it too.
So let me say greetings to all that I missed. I apologize. We're talking to Tom. But usually when I have a guest, I do my best to put the focus on the guest. And I do scan for questions pertinent to the conversation. I did want to address, though, a comment that I saw of the Course being a selfish endeavor. The great prayer that's offered in A Course in Miracles is I'm here only to be truly helpful. Through the act of forgiveness, we're bringing the ultimate act of helpfulness, that we're literally bringing light into the world, recognizing the light that's within another, so that we may recognize the light within ourselves. So actually, the focus is more about other people, because that is how we make those connective leaps. That's the way we raise the consciousness of the world.
Right. Sorry, but I did find it in here. Okay, but this was the group practice of the Transcendental Meditation Program on Preventing Violent Crime in Washington, D.C. Results of the National Demonstration Project, June through the July 1993. The study presents the final results of the 2-month prospective experiment to reduce violent crime in Washington, D.C. On the basis of previous research, it was hypothesized that the level of violent crime in the District of Columbia would drop significantly with the creation of a large number of participants in the Transcendental Meditation that program and increased coherence and reduced stress in the district. HRA crime levels were utilized to determine the effectiveness of the project. HR crimes are homicides, rapes, and assault. For more detailed examination of this research, okay, mine uncovering the default belief class. But the conclusions about this research, based on the results of the study state gaining long-term effect associated with a permanent group of 4,000 participants in the Transcendental Meditation Program was calculated as take a guess. How big of
10%.
a 10%. Okay. As a 48% reduction in HRA crimes in the District of Columbia. 48%. Okay. Peace, loving thoughts have a calming influence. These were their conclusions on the surrounding population, have been shown to reduce the level of violence among the society at large. The intervention parameters for the group size revealed that the effect of the group was not only cumulative with the increase in group size, but also continued for some time after the end of the project. We're talking about 100 monkeys. The 100 monkeys is the idea that once there's enough of a species that somehow the whole species becomes aware of some knowledge or some information. We can talk about the LA, if LA rats or Boston rats are smarter, because there they did another experiment on species consciousness. I want to get back to this one. Okay,
Sure.
so given the strength of the result, their consistency with the positive results of previous research, the grave human and financial cost of violent crime, and the lack of other effective and scientific methods to reduce crime, policymakers were urged to apply this approach on a large scale for the benefit of society. The above findings are obviously related to human behavior, but also support the previous findings of the connectedness of the minds of us on a species level. This is because I'm talking about some other thing. Although I cite this specific study, these results have been duplicated and reconfirmed in various communities and settings. They did it in Chicago, they did it all over the place. They got the same result. The numbers are so consistent and reliable that the researchers can correlate needed group size with the desired result. It has been calculated that this is interesting right here. It has been calculated that the required percentage of population that would be needed to create a shift in human consciousness, okay, to be, take a guess. Do you think
That's
it's 1%
10%.
of the population?
10% of the population.
No, what would you take? Take a guess. What percentage of the population do you think would create a human shift, a
That would be
species
my
consciousness shift?
that would be my guess. Would be 10% of the population. Higher?
No. What it is, it's to be the square root of 1% of the population. Now, for people that don't understand math or don't have a good grasp on this, this is a very small number because what you're doing is you're taking a given figure and you keep on multiplying it by that same number. Okay, the square. So, anyways, it's the square root, and the small number is 85,000 highly in-tuned minds would be able to shift a group consciousness of 720, 7,225 billion people. Otherwise, the world population was about that amount, and 85,000 have the ability to shift. So it's not 10%, and it's not 1%. It's the square root of 1%. That would be able to create a shift. So this is interesting. Okay. This is kind of typical of our society. Okay. Policymakers were urged to apply this calming approach to on a large scale for the benefit of society. Unfortunately, since non-physical methodology does not fit the narrative, increase the budget or power of the policymakers, these pleas have been ignored. So basically, in our society, which runs on fear, uh, they're not interested, the policymakers, in doing something that has been, I'm going to say, scientifically proven to work because they can't necessarily explain it because somehow it means we're connected and it goes against their mindset. And it doesn't increase their power because they don't get any more funding.
Yeah.
So they ignored it, okay, which is why it's important if we dovetail back to that other idea of being open to changing your assumptions. If you assume that minds are connected, and if you assume that this study is right and they've duplicated over and over again, okay, that they can tell you how many people they need to send and what the results will be if you change your assumptions, which those police and officials wouldn't do, they could have a new reality. But they refuse to believe or accept the idea that somehow minds could be uh, on a non-physical basis connected, okay, a non-linear, okay, uh, and so they poo-poo it. They say that's not something to be. But if you or I were to adopt that philosophy that our minds are connected, which right now, although there's evidence like that, 100 monkeys, the LA rats, um, the military studies that the U.S. conducted on their own people, on with DNA and stuff like that, they've all demonstrate that somehow there is uh, uh, it's a word introviral or connection, otherwise non-physical, uh, and that somehow minds are connected. The military was able to uh, do that with showing that they could. In this experiment, what they did is they actually took physical DNA from the subject, which is very easy to get, and then they moved it elsewhere. And then they had the subject be showed graphic clips that would uh, create emotional responses. And the DNA that in the military stopped at 50 miles, but it's been duplicated with over 400 miles, and so it's been duplicated much further. The DNA that had been separated reacted. Otherwise, had the same because DNA uh, intertwines the. If you look at DNA and you look at heart math research, uh, their institute. you'll see that they've done a lot of experiments on the energy field of the heart, and that uh, human DNA is postulated that the uh, tightness of the DNA molecule is what turns uh, various uh, genes on and off. So if you look at a strand of DNA, most of it is actually turned off. And uh, they postulated that it's this twisting. And so what they found is that love or thoughts of forgiveness tend to unwind the tightness of the DNA, and that if they're right that that's how things turn on and off, it will turn on different genes, uh, and
Um,
those will be activated, so
so
to speak. So go ahead.
uh, I wanted to circle back,
Mhm.
and I thought you provided a great opportunity uh, along the same veins, but circling back to happiness, consciousness, you, and fear. Uh, Going to that you, the you. Uh, if we
What was that
practice
last
forgive,
word? What was that last word you said?
going
Going.
back to you, as our topic is happiness,
Oh,
consciousness, you, and fear,
uh-huh. Yeah.
then our own, and this is tying things together. Uh, we are us. Going back to what you were saying about not changing the behavior. Uh, if people were to practice forgiveness as presented through the Course of Miracles, we would get that same effect as what you just mentioned, right?
I mean, what with the study that they had in Washington D.C. Is that
Yes.
what you're talking about? Uh, if we actually had people that were attuned and did that, we're making a leap in faith that uh, people that study A Course in Miracles have that ability. These were meditators, okay? And uh, if I study A Course in Miracles and I come from a fear based thought system, otherwise, I didn't change my assumptions. I didn't come with empty hands, which the Course says you have to. You have to drop those assumptions. I come with uh, the idea that God is not loving, that I'm a sinner, uh, that I'm the body, or that I have a soul that needs to earn some type of redemption, then you're not in that right state. So even though you study the Course in Miracles, uh, there's a lot of ways you can misinterpret or misunderstand, and so that's why actually the Course in Miracles also says that knowledge is something that we possess. Okay, and uh, we've forgotten knowledge. You can't learn knowledge. Uh, Course says that knowledge will, will be remembered, but we've forgotten knowledge. And what the Course in Miracles says is, here's what knowledge says. Here's what knowledge says. Here's 6 points, and that's what you are. Uh, so what Course in Miracles is saying, and let me just give you the 6 points of knowledge, okay, which is in this book, okay. Uh, First one is you are mind, pure mind. You are sinless, and the second one is you are sinless and fearless because you were created out of love. Three, you never left your source, therefore you remain as you were created. Okay. Four, since knowledge was given to you, you cannot lose knowledge. Five, knowledge was given to every living thing, and only by knowledge does it live. Okay. So actually, uh, if you think of that, we're not really living. We think we are, but we're not, uh, because we don't understand that we're spirit. But six, knowledge was a gift of creation, therefore it was given to all and cannot be learned. Okay, so that's what knowledge is. If we take those as the assumptions that we're going to operate from, we're going to get a totally different thought system to view our world. Here's the five laws of chaos. Okay, the laws of chaos we could call the five laws of fear. Okay, because they birth fear. And this is what we tend to believe. Truth is different for everyone. Okay. Each one must sin, therefore, each deserves attack and death. God has accepted the Son's failure, fallen belief about himself. Therefore, God sees us as sinners and hates us for us. You believe that what you have forged, you believe that what you have taken from others. Everything's a zero sum game. If I'm to win, someone must lose. Okay. And then the fifth one is there's a substitute for love. This substitute uh, is what you need to make you complete. The substitute we could just call conditional love. The idea that I'm not perfect, whole, and complete. Therefore, I need something outside myself to make me whole. So that's what most people, okay, operate from. That's what most people that read the Course in Miracles, because they won't come with empty hand, want to try and interpret the Course through that fear based thought system. They haven't gone back far enough. They want to assume that the laws of chaos apply, and therefore they want to dig in the field of law of chaos. They want to dig into the field that they buy into the idea that they're not spirit, that they're sinners, that they have to earn. So you've got a lot of people that believe that they have to be an earner and earn redemption. Course in Miracles says that the best, the most we can do for mankind is to accept the atonement for ourselves, the at one meant that we are all one, that we are mind. And when we do that, then we lift the whole ocean up, or the whole, all the things that are floating over there. So uh, that's why the focus, I'm going to say, should be on fixing me, not trying to fix you, because a couple of reasons, but one is it's not my dojo. It's not my, uh, I don't have control over you. And if I think that I'm going to fix you and that my happiness depends on whether or not Eric likes me or he thinks that what I said was nice or something like that, then what I've done is I've transferred some of my power to control my own happiness over to Eric. And I said, Eric, if you don't like what Tom says, then you can disturb his inner peace. You know? So that's a disempowering thought. So my task, okay, and the vision of Christ is to realize that Eric's already perfect, whole, and complete. I'm already perfect, whole, and complete. There's nothing wrong with anybody. Might be something wrong with their plan, otherwise, their assumptions, beliefs, and decisions that they make, but there's nothing fundamentally wrong with them. They remain as they were created, perfect, whole, and complete. Okay. And by giving you the freedom to be and to uh, be and imagine anything that you want to, including being on this planet and thinking it's a miserable place or it's a hellhole. Uh, that's okay. I can allow you to do that because if I say that you don't have the ability to control your own inner peace, that somehow I have it, then I've disempowered you. And I've also disempowered myself because now I say, if Eric doesn't behave, I'm hurt. Okay. This is why Jesus says, I can't take away your fear. I can't take away your fear because it's all in your own mind. And if I could take away your fear, that would mean that someone could take away my fear. That means I'm not perfect, whole, and complete. Okay. And so I have to see everybody as what they truly are and not what I misperceive them to be or what they misperceive themselves to be. So it's important to realize that if I think I can fix you, I've disempowered myself because now I've given you some control over my happiness. You know, the fundamental law is I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me. Nothing can source my experience but me, and nothing can cause me to lose my inner peace unless I allow it. So I can't say that Eric is a victim someplace else uh, and not disempower myself. This idea that Eric is powerless and therefore I have to save him or I have a duty or obligation to fix him traps me in that fear based thought system. So, like whenever you said about the collective consciousness, TM people weren't going out and uh, trying to fix anybody. They were just trying to acknowledge the oneness and emanate what they really are, which is love. If Course in Miracles people did that, fine. But just because you study uh, this book, oh, I got it right, doesn't mean that you understand it or practice it.
Right, right. Um, Tom, I unfortunately I only have about 10, 15 more minutes. Uh,
Mhm.
I am. I know you were under the weather last week. I've been under the weather this week. Uh, Maybe about 70% better, but um, I'm starting to drop off a bit. Uh,
Mhm.
the one thing we didn't cover is happiness.
Well, happiness is really a misnomer. We should have called it inner peace, but that's not what we speak of. Happiness, as long as you believe that there's something wrong with you or that you need something outside your own control, you will always be in fear. And fear and happiness are mutually exclusive. So, uh, what we're really speaking of is not some temporary thing. And that's what uh, people mistake happiness for. If we would have said, on this inner peace consciousness in you, people maybe would have a better idea of it. But happiness, see, our fear based thought system, if you believe in the laws of chaos, what you believe is that there's something inherently wrong with you and that you need something outside yourself to make you happy. And as long as you need something outside to make you happy, even when you get it, for example, I need a new car to make me happy. You get that thing and it makes you happy for a moment or two. And then you worry about someone going to steal it, Do I have enough insurance? Do I blah, blah, blah? And so it's because happiness comes from within. And if we think it comes from outside of ourselves, it's still fear based. So we have to change our assumptions as to what we are. Okay. And we can't go on uh, with the idea that I accept the idea that I have to earn something or that God is going to judge me or that my happiness will be something that will come to me at some future time, but I'm not entitled to it now. Okay. All those things have to change. And that's part of our problem. We're not willing to come with empty hands and say the assumptions that I've been operating on and that I believe, I'm going to just arbitrarily say that they're wrong. And if the Course in Miracles is right, and if you say, now I'm God's beloved child, instead of I'm God's mistake, God's great, and that's what I was brought up to be. I'm God's greatest mistake, not God's beloved child. When I change that thinking around, the world didn't turn out to be such a bad place after all. Because here's something that maybe this will help. Okay, uh, what story are you telling yourself right now? What if 95% of 95% of what you fear isn't even real? What finally, uh, if we look and we said, what if a second thought could change everything? Okay. Sometimes clarity begins with a single question. What story am I telling myself right now? That's something that we need to ask. You'll find that helpful to pause a moment and to contemplate that question. What story am I telling uh, myself right now? Most of us, okay, walk through life on autopilot, repeating the same internal narrative day after day, unaware of how much that shapes every part of our experience. For myself, I would want to know whether that story is supporting or sabotaging the vision of what I desire to become. Here's a key truth. Your mind always, and we use the word mind, but consciousness or whatever you want to call it, your mind always tries to answer the question you give it. Okay? So if you ask, why do things always go wrong for me? Your mind will produce reasons. If you ask, what could go right? Your mind will offer possibilities. A well-known psychological study in the 1960s discovered something extraordinary. Nearly 85% of the things that people feared never happened. Okay. And the other 12% did occur, but people handled them much better than expected, or they learned something helpful from that experience. That means that 95% of what we fear is either unreal or survivable, even in our fear based thought system. Yet most people organize their life surrounded around that 3%. Instead of giving fear the microphone, okay, I would give my attention to the 95% of life that's not trying to hurt me in my own thought system. I'd also remind everybody uh, that in regards to this, you cannot necessarily always control the first thought. The first thought, a lot of times, is often a bodily response. And that bodily response is maybe automatically hardwired for bodily needs and physical survival. But remember that you always have the power to choose the second thought. The second thought is where your freedom really lives and lies. It's where forgiveness begins. It's where clarity starts to return. It's where inner peace becomes possible. Your first thought might be fear, might be anger, guilt, or self blame. That is simply conditioning. But your second thought is yours to choose. It could choose a thought that's helpful. Choose a thought that leads to peace rather than conflict. Choose a thought that reflects who you are becoming rather than who you once believed you were. If I were you, I'd remember one more idea. Guilt is a trap. Sin, guilt, fear. Guilt is a trap. It pretends to be responsible, yet it only keeps you stuck in the past. Responsibility is different. It is your ability to respond in a new way right now. Every moment is a blank page. Every breath is a reset. Your past is not your prison unless you keep rebuilding the walls by refusing to change the assumptions, beliefs, and decisions that control your thinking and your attitude. So if I were you, I would stop living from old fears. I would stop rehearsing worst case scenarios. I would stop assuming the universe is working against me. I would begin choosing again, choosing peace, choosing clarity, choosing the inner voice that lifts me up instead of one that limits me. Your ego and our fear based thought system is designed to keep you small. For myself, I would choose a better story and then I decide to live as if it were true. Psychologists say that if you do that, it will become true. You're much more likely to see that change. So I would invite you to decide for yourself what story you want to live as if it were true, and then just go ahead and do it.
Um, I think this is a good place to wrap things up because Tom, that was a very, very powerful. It was a powerful ending. I that was. I've enjoyed all of our talks, but I think the last 15 minutes that you presented was one of the most powerful things I've had on my channel. Uh, it was. Uh, I think if anyone really, really takes that to heart, it would be a life altering. As a friend Terry says, it was beautiful. So thank you so much for that. Uh, again, I enjoy everything, but that seemed highly inspired, as if you had reached purely to the Holy Spirit and just presented uh, this universal truth. I, I can't thank you enough for hearing that.
Okay, well, I'm just an instrument. The reality is that you know that same truth. And if it resonated with you, that's only because you know it true inside. So uh, there is no difference between us all. Uh, just be aware that the only difference is the choices that you make, and embrace the truth of what you are. And that's, oh, you've got to get rid of all that past indoctrination that we've been receiving all our lives so that we can't see a way out of it. We're trying to mind happiness in the field of fear, and it's a dead end. You can go as deep as you want, as wide as you want, but as long as you're coming from that fear-based thought system, you're going to remain trapped. So what we have to do is move the rig from the fear-based thought system and drop it into, by changing those assumptions, assuming those things, drop it there in that new field. And then you will start to experience and draw evidence that supports those new beliefs and those assumptions that seemed so far-fetched to you will start now becoming possibilities and realities. And whenever certainty is reached and you just assume that with or without a body, I still exist, you'll find that fear dissolves and fear is no more. And then you have your happiness or inner peace and joy.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. All right.
Next week,
Yes.
are we going to piggyback on this discussion, or do you want to?
Well, we'll see. I think that we might explore new territory. We'll find out. But send me the link on the message next time.
I will do that. I will do that. I apologize.
No, that's all right. I just you had sent it before, and so not a problem.
All right,
My
guys, we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to say a big thank you to you, Tom. I appreciate it very
Okay.
much.
All right.
I'm glad you're feeling better, and I will. I'm actually going to do two parts of this talk. I'm going to edit it so that we will have where you and I started,
Okay.
and I'll send you that.
Okay, that's fine.
And our friend Environment says thank you. And again, I think you touched a lot of people, and I very much appreciate it. I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Okay. Have a
Thank you.
good,
Thanks, guys.
great day.
You
Namaste.
too. Namaste.
Bye.